Alright guys, welcome back to Professional Goblins. Tonight we have a wonderful game, and Mike is going to explain it to you. This is something of an irregularity, but maybe we'll make it a thing. It's, I guess we'll call it like After Hours or whatever.
This is one of my favorite games. It is called The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. So in this, we will each be playing 17th, 18th century nobles, and we are in a tavern telling the best tale that we can. And I am Duke Myler. I have a small territory that I keep in the English Highlands. And I am, of course, accompanied by Duchess Savannah.
Grand Duchess, thank you.
Oh, madam, I am so sorry. I slipped on my tongue.
Of course, I'm sure. Could it be that perhaps you've had a bit too much to drink, good Duke?
I have never had too much to drink. I think you know that.
There are stories, I will admit.
And who will be joining us at the table this evening?
Well, hello, I am Captain Kennedy.
Captain, a man of the military of the Navy.
Oh, I'm a man of my own making. These, and I like to sail each 7 taverns each time I come into port, if you know what I mean.
I do.
no,
a man of my stripe.
And while I like to fancy myself as one of the best duelists in the world, I shall have you know I've never drawn my sword in anything but the defense of a noble and virtuous woman.
Fine thing to know. And this last character, whom are you, sir?
I'm Lordy Angus Crackhouse!
Oh my. Oh, I see.
Let's
You
say,
invite
I
the
have
strangest company.
Let's say, if you ever saw my land, you'd be impressed. But let me tell you, it's way up in the mountains. It ain't something pretty. But you know, you don't need something pretty just to make a buck. I've been here since before your mom actually could be knee-high to a little yellow grasshopper.
I have of course heard of the mighty Crackhouses of Ireland. Who hasn't?
It is true. It's a thing of note even in my country.
Indeed. One
I've got at least 3 IOUs to the Crackhousens.
I know it'll be calling it in tonight.
I remember one compelling note about the Crackhouses of Ireland. It was your family that captured the Loch Ness monster for a time, was it not?
Yeah, that was my dad. We went ahead.
Your
It was a
dad?
fishing trip that went real wrong, but then turned real right. We rode it into battle against those British bastards.
Which battle was this?
The Battle of Loch Ness.
Ah, yes, of course. So Battle of Loch Ness. Please tell us.
Oh, the Battle of Loch Ness. Oh, boys and girls, you're in for quite a story. So, there we were. It was a beautiful summer day. Wonderful. And yes.
What were you doing? What were you doing in Scotland? Because I was in the understanding that the Lake of Loch Ness was in Scotland, isn't it? And the Crackhouses are from Ireland, are they not?
I'll see your damn thing. It was yes, but we were invading. Come on, you need to invade for a fishing trip, or it ain't a proper fishing trip.
Wow.
So there we were. We were in the Loch Ness, and we had our sandwiches, we had our pita bread, and we had our wonderful spears, because that's the only way you can fish, really. A proper man can, at least.
With pita bread.
Pita bread! The only type of bread you can eat to be a real man. Anyway, it's a crack house in tradition. So, me, I was just a yee little boy, and my dad, he's at least 8 feet tall, in case you didn't know. And his kilt, you can use it like a tent when you sleep.
My good lord, I must interject. I heard that your father, in fact, wore stilts.
Let's say, yeah, that's true, but that's only because he got his legs blown off at the knees fighting the Russians.
Oh, well, no.
But he had to maintain his height. In fact, he's such a humble man, he took a whole foot off.
Well, and in our defense, we took 2 feet off.
That's fair. So, anyway, we're there with our hummus, with our fishing spears, and wouldn't you know, we're sitting there and we feel a mighty. It's trembling, and we can't figure out what it is. Now, of course, we've caught fish. We've been wrapping them in our pitas, and we've been eating them like a true man does. Now, down from up there, up on their hill with a corgi, comes a great monster, a neck like a skyscraper. It's the scariest thing you've ever darn seen. Now,
I have not heard this term before. I have traveled quite far and wide. What is a skyscraper, sir?
I bet say, it's when you go ahead and you're with your wife and you reach up to the ceiling and you scrape it while you're in the middle of a heated, passionate moment.
While eating pita.
Well, eating pita, of course, if you're Crackhausen.
Wouldn't that be a roof or a ceiling scraper?
But yeah, I mean, it's a term, you know? It's a term.
I mean, I figured all true Crackhausens only had their passions on the outside, so it is a metaphor, Duke Myler.
Yes,
they scratch at the sky.
Of course.
Well, I mean, if they're so tall, wouldn't the sky for them, if it is the ceiling, be quite low? So are you saying the neck of the monster was only maybe 10 feet high?
Well, we'll call it 10 feet high, but you know what? It was stretched out like a snake over a great distance. So anyway, this thing, most terrifying thing you'll ever see, comes down. It had 4 great flippers and a 5th on the rump, and it was going across the ground. It was waddling with great vigorous motions, carving a swath through the underbrush. Now, it gets there, and my pa looks at him with his peg legs, his 2 stilted legs, and he goes, great monster, great beastie, what are you doing here? And he goes, what do you want from us? And he goes, the thing, it can talk, by the way, I swear to you. Not in human speech, but in, it's kind of a bestial understanding between people. And we sat there and we looked at him. My pa, he looked him right in the eyes, and he goes, oh, he's just returning from the bathroom. He has to take a dump out there. He don't poop or he eats. He's a gentleman himself. So, we go, you want some pita, sir? And he goes, what? And he nods his great, wonderful, low head. And he goes, oh my God, all right, have some fish, have some pita. And now this monster, it has never had pita before. The great Crackhauser pita. Now, I'll tell you what. He loves that pita so much, we put him in our own tartan. And now he's wearing a kilt. Around the neck, obviously, because that's where all proper ones would be worn for a sea monster of that disposition. And, that's when he became our mount. He became our best friends. He drank with us on a regular basis. Every time we invaded Scotland, he was right there. We got to ride him in there. I mean, how do you think we got all the way to Britain to invade them?
For more fishing trips or more general purpose invading?
I mean, sometimes it was fishing trips. Sometimes it was, bowling expeditions on the lawn. It's not a proper invasion if you can't blame it on something else.
Only a Crackhouse could befriend the Loch Ness.
That's it. I'll drink to that. Oh my God. So I heard that that our friend, are you Russian, right? That's the country you're from, right?
Da.
Then Nostrovia. I hear you have a wonderful story about drinking and about the toast Nostrovia and the history of it. I heard you were involved somehow.
Well, you see, I being a well-traveled sort of woman, I have, as you've perhaps heard, I have been to the moon.
As you do.
And so what it was is that my contacts on the moon, because I have, had converse with the moon men, my contacts on the moon said that they spotted with their magnificent telescopes a very special hot spring. on the face of the earth, the most remote part of South America. And so what I did was I got into my royal barge and I took along my dear friend Marguerite. She is my handmaiden. And she, little known fact, is the most large-lunged person in the world. And she took a very deep breath and she blew the ship all the way from Russia down to South America.
But I thought you were on the moon.
No, I was on the moon, and they told me of the hot spring, so I had to go back to visit the hot spring. I mean, I couldn't go unprepared. All of my best royal cloaks are at home. You can't leave your good things at the moon. They get covered in moon dust. It's very gritty. But yes, no, my secondary home is in fact on the moon. You just need good dry cleaner.
But if there's one thing that I've learned about your ship, which is an amazing ship, is that you actually have the world's worst navigator.
You know, it is true. I specifically employed this person because it makes life interesting. So in fact, his name was Eustace. Strange and silly name. But his name was Eustace, and he's the world's worst navigator. And we were trying to sail to South America, and somehow along the line, we ended up in Hawaii, the strange land of the volcanoes. And what happened was, we were looking for hot springs, and we looked up on this mountain, and we saw great clouds of steam and smoke coming out of the volcano. And I asked one of the natives what this was, and they were of very little help, frankly. But we communicated through gesture, and I finally found out that their volcano goddess lived. And I figure, being a woman of high standing and being a queen of the moon and a Grand Duchess of Russia, I should, being in this goddess's territory, go visit her.
As one does.
Indeed, it's only polite. So I went to go call on this goddess. And so it was a perilous trek up the mountain. There was much lava that was still coming down. However, my handmaiden, having her prodigious lungs, was able to cool all of the lava before it was able to overheat us in any way, which was good because, my dry cleaning bill is bad enough. I don't need any more of it. So we reached the summit of this mountain, and the volcano goddess herself rises out of the magma in the caldera of the volcano. And her eyes, they are like two stars shining in her face. And she leans in, and the heat is like that of 1,000 suns. But of course, being a woman of much fiber, I did not wilt before this. And she greeted me in the language that, much like you described that of the Loch Ness, but, goddessly.
Wait, I heard this story a little differently. Didn't you? But say, wasn't this the point at which your handmaiden got melted? Is that what happened to her?
Well, she was somewhat melted.
Somewhat melted. Okay.
See, it is partially true. What it was, in fact, there was a small lava pool off to the side, and while I was conversing with the goddess, she decided that she wanted to take a dip in these hot springs because they are good for the skin. This was a terrible plan.
Aye.
And she, in fact, did melt. But because this was the hot spring of a goddess, she melted and was reformed as a lava person.
That's where the famous lava people come from.
Levati, yes, I've heard of the Levati.
I had one as an ex-wife at once.
You what now?
I had one as an ex-wife once.
Oh, well, I'm sure things were very heated in the bedroom and everywhere.
She was very, very hot, but surprisingly, her heart very cold.
Well, they have to have something to regulate it out, I suppose. Ultimately, it sadly cost me my handmaiden because when I attempted to leave, she almost set the boat on fire. So we had to leave her on the island. I mailed her schnitzel and things that one cannot get in Hawaii. But anyway, so before she almost set the boat on fire, the goddess asked me why I was here, and I said, I have come to make the most perfect drink in the world. And so she gifted me what she called the essence of fire, which would make any drink burn very pleasingly as it went down, which you think is a common thing, but it is in fact a magical property. It would keep you cold, or it would keep you warm even in the coldest of Russian nights. So I took this gift in a small crystal flask, and sadly leaving my handmaiden behind, I sailed in the direction of Russia, but sadly my navigator was not the one who melted. So there were many more adventures, but those will have to wait to another evening.
Well
Fine,
said.
Well spoken. I'm practicing.
Yeah. So Captain John, I heard, and this may just be a rumor, but I heard that at one point you, in fact, found the heart of the famous jungles.
The famous jungle what? I'm sorry?
Yeah, you cut out.
The famous jungle of Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan.
Yes.
Uzbekistani jungle?
It takes a lot of skill to sail there, you know. A lot of skill. Not many sailors can do it, but I can do it. Mainly because I own one of the few ships that has feet.
I
It's
see. Are they
incredible ship.
clawed, or do they have toes like man feet?
They're like duck feet.
Oh!
It's incredible. Before we set sail, I have the crew spin this little gigantic peg at the back of the ship for an entire day, and then they let go, and we just move through the water. Completely original design. No one else has thought of it yet, except for maybe this giraffe man I once knew. But no, it's completely original design. I call it the P.N. Motorized ship compartment. But
I have
Uzbekistan.
heard of that. There was some talk of the patent for the P.N. Glen ship belonging to, who was it? That upstart American. Edison? Edison? Yes, I believe so. Didn't he file for registering it just recently?
Well, that's why I had to go to the jungles of Uzbekistan. Was because of Edison.
Ah.
Dastardly
So there
man.
I was. There I was. I was in Kazakhstan, crossing the Uzbekistani border, which is really dangerous to do in summertime. You know, when all the trees are full of leaves and all the Uzbekistani animals are all in their how should I put it? Their romantic period.
Ah, and heat.
So I'm
Doing
on
a
my boat.
skyscraper.
Yeah.
I
I'm on my
heard,
boat.
in fact, that you and your ship were accosted by the famous giant Uzbekistani duck who mistook your ship for a pretty lady duck.
You know, the problem with having the most beautiful ship on the ocean is that it too gets its paramours. And I try to be like, you know, a doting parent, and I try to let the boat decide for itself. But sometimes, I just get a bad feeling. And this one, I don't need to explain to this refined company what mallards are like, but I do not trust a mallard and never will. But you're going along the great Uzbeki Amazon River, trying to find where Edison had hidden his camp. We heard this loud noise in the distance. This noise which sounded like go over here. It was just this weird warbling noise that kept saying, tongue depressors, $300.
Wait!
Room and ball.
Wait! I know this one! It's the Loch Ness Monster, isn't it?
We got closer. We found that there was the Loch Ness Monster who was serving as the man of honor for that duck, which was weird. I've never seen a ship get challenged to either a shotgun wedding or a formal duel. A Cenozoic lizard and a giant mallard. But let me tell you, friends, life like I have. Now, the Loch Ness Monster, who was eating a foul-smelling sandwich, which
You take that back!
Grainy bread.
It's a
falling
pita!
apart in claws. Stood there and said, I must finish this mallard. And at the end of it, we will either fight or you will give in to the demands of my friend, Sir Cardinal Mallard. He was both a knight and a cardinal. It was very weird from his religious order, and probably a byproduct of his upbringing. But as we got closer, he said, 5,000. X-rays, 2,000. And it was that moment that I realized we were truly in a dangerous situation because we were dealing with, my friends, a real quack. So as the Mallard Loch Ness Monster challenged my boat, I could only do one thing. And I had to pull out my secret weapon. For I had on my crew Tam Zamrazan, the greatest animal trainer in the world. I believe you've read all of his blogs. He's really famous on the Tumblr. Which is that
the Loch Tumblers are very important these days. You gotta keep reading them.
So I look over at Tam and I say, Tam, in the Uzbekistani rainforest, surely about to meet our death. What can we do to avoid having our ship savaged by this brutish, monstrous duck? And he looked at me and said, well, there's only one thing which we really can do. Ducks can fly, and the Loch Ness Monster can swim. But there's one thing our boat can do that they can't, and that's run through the jungle. Pulls out this guitar, starts playing this ballad, and our boat pulls itself out of the water and just starts running through the jungle. It's this ugly bronze building. And we're trying to look at our map to figure out how can we get there. And the map is just ugly Uzbekistani contraption, which I got maybe in a card game, you know.
Was it perhaps drawn by my worst navigator?
Oh, you know what? There were scorch marks on the edge of the map, so...
It would make sense.
Your navigator tried to use this alphabetical system. Accidentally repeated, especially around the third mark, so there were 2 C's. And I had no idea how to read this map. So all I knew was that the Edison's complex, E, there's an R, and there's another C. And I figured, well, I'm bringing company to dinner. Surely Edison won't mind. As we break through the jungle, Edison was looking out from his veranda, and he saw us, this marvelous sight of the ship leaving the forest. And as we're getting closer, I remember looking back at my navigator and shouting, CCR, running through the jungle. That was the last piece of music that he heard before the Loch Ness Monster and the giant duck, the Sir Cardinal, that was the last crashed into his building that he heard. Now, it was really horrible affair. I'm afraid that I don't know what went down, but I do know that it was duck. And as we were sitting there trying to avoid all of the problems of a burning ship and a burning building, and I just tried to shout something to him, but we couldn't hear because that Loch Ness Monster was just making so much noise between where's my sandwich and Edison, trying to figure out what was going on. And I remember looking back at Edison and saying, hey, just call me later. Made our way out of the jungle, convinced that whatever destruction was awaiting for Edison, surely the duck and the Loch Ness Monster would reap it upon him. And I did better that day. And he agrees.
Explains much of the comings and goings I've heard on the Tumblr.
Indeed. We'll see.
Inscribing things on cups is the greatest way to send information. You just gotta keep it small and like tiny little bites.
It is the new age, surely.
But Your Excellency, surely any tale that I could tell pales in comparison to what I feel is probably your greatest exploit. which has to be that time that you fought 3, count 'em, demons, summoned from the darkest corners of hell, in what can only be described as the funniest duel of our time.
I do tire of telling this tale, but I will, of course, indulge you. Yes, I was in Italy at the time. I remember because the pasta was always cooked to the perfect temperament. And I believe it was Rome. Yes, it was the Roman Colosseum. You see, there's a lot of confusion about this. They were not technically demons. That's a common misnomer spread by the church and their indulgence in me as their holy warrior or some such nonsense. I've never given them much heed.
Now, I just have to make this clear. You're talking about the Jewish church, right?
Ah, yes.
The Jewish Pope.
Yeah, well, no, there is no Jewish Pope as such. But yes, I do often mistake the two. As I said, I pay them little heed, but yes, the people of David's faith do often espouse my my stories and spread their tales and with a little bit of embellishment, as it were. No, it's funny that you bring that up because at the core of it were the golems. See, they weren't demons at all. It was a large carnival being held in the Colosseum, and there were clowns. Clowns by the dozens, by the scores, everywhere you looked. Clown over here, clown over there. There was a lion clown. A lion clown, I say. Really, a lion clown. It's a bit much, I thought.
Tell me, were there, of these clowns, were there any fools?
They were all fools. But the most foolish of them all were the demons. You see, so there was a apothecary of sorts that was quite obsessed with the how might one put it? He sought to puppet life in a sort of artistic performance in what he referred to as carionets. And he prepared these shows with his carionets that were quite gruesome and entertaining, I will admit. They were thrilling to the eye, to be sure, although the participants were, as one might expect of a puppet, a little lacking in emotion. So, you see, he sought to bring animation to his carionets, and this is where the mix-up with the demons occurs. So, following the teachings of the good old books, he sought to create a golem using the remains of some individuals that found an early and unfortunate end in Rome. I assume. I was not personally involved. This is just in the papers, you understand. Anyway,
of course.
As I was sitting there in the main courtyard of the event and enjoying some fine rosé wine, I saw a child enjoying the parlor tricks of a clown approached by another, and I immediately could tell that something was awry because its jaw just came at this angle that no amount of makeup could pursue. Anyway, I approached it and I tried to begin a conversation, but these things, while able to facilitate the model of life that we are so accustomed to and appear as if they were
my Lord Myler, I heard, in fact, that its jaw was so grotesquely large that it swallowed you whole.
Ah, yes. I was getting to that. So, I approached it, just as the child and it were about to grasp hands, and I tried to begin a conversation. I saw immediately from the slow way the jaw worked, something strange was occurring in the creature. See, it was a thing of science, of which I am still a little bit unfamiliar, if I might be completely honest. I find it to be spurless, like the black magic or some such, Good thing the church is on top of things. Anyway, as I was saying,
The Jewish church, right?
Oh, not just the Jewish church.
Okay,
They're
everyone
all,
got it. Gotcha.
all policing it, I think, quite fervorously, and as they should.
Indeed, that is. I think the Jewish are more into the golems of clay rather than the golems of people.
Yeah.
Exactly, which I believe is why they call them demons, where the mix-up occurs. So I begin trying to converse with it. It fails. I see the jaw working. I go to touch it, trying to get a sense of what was wrong with it as I called out for a doctor. And just as I do, looking away, my hand just disappears into its mouth, its maw, as it makes this terrible, terrible farting noise out of its backside. And suddenly, before I know it, I'm inside of it, this fleshy monstrosity. So, as you might expect in some places, bases Italy, that the gastric expulsions of the creature caused a great, great, great consternation of hilarity. And when I peered out of its backside, there are some people that dropped to the ground hysterical. I was not amused whatsoever. It's, as luck would have it, 2 more came out from behind some stalls, and they grew in interest and wanted to taste, but I wouldn't have any more of that. Now, the thing with it is that for such a quick and rapid expulsion from the body, there are a lot of effluviants required. So I was very slippery as I began my melee with these combatants. I am not a comedic actor, but I've been told by several professional, respected individuals that my performance would have been enough to earn me the stewardship of a king or queen if I so chose. And I believe it. Everyone seemed to enjoy the show.
Your Excellency, though, I got the question. How were the pitas involved, and why were there so many later? How did they factor into the duel?
The pitas. The pitas, yes. I recall the pitas. Now, it was a bit of a surprise, but there was a large Greek contingent there. I suppose there was some sort of intercultural festival or something, some such with the church, as it always often is.
The Jewish
And
church.
as there were many attendants of the Jewish church in town at the time, there were quite a number of stalls offering their preferred pita meals. Now, there were a couple of carts containing all of their pitas, and it was into these that one of the creatures threw me after I felled another by, as it turned out, much to the chagrin of all the audience, exposing it to a great deal of manure. You see, the process by which this apothecary had created his golem demons, as it were, found itself completely disrupted by the introduction of a large amount of nitrates. And if you are familiar at all with science, and as I said, I have begun to dabble in it, as any good intrepid explorer would, nitrates are quite common in feces. So, dumping a bucket upon one caused its foot to disintegrate, and in turn I lured it over and tripped it into a pile, and that was done. But as I was preoccupied with this maneuver, another came up behind me and tossed me into a large, large cart of pitas. The owner was furious, for they were truly ruined, for who would buy a pita after it was done up by a man covered in the saliva, shit, and dirt of the streets.
I can think of a few people.
Clearly, they could sell them as souvenirs later. They could lacquer them to remove the smell.
I understand that
Or
that
they could sell them as is, because who could notice the difference in taste between your pitas and other pitas?
well, as it stands, I do understand the church did turn a couple into a sort of resin-covered plates with artwork of the battle for memorabilia and sent out to the various synagogues. Yes. So I was knocked into the pitas, and for a moment I lost my way, stumbling out and into the startled horses tied to the cart. I jumped upon one, began to move them about the square, and tried to get people away from the foray as they had all closed in, thinking it was a show. of all things. Italians, right? Anyway, using the stampeding horses, I managed to circle around the two creatures, get them together. And it was a bit of a doing. It was a bit of a doing, dancing the horses off of the carts and then working them around. But I eventually made a train between the horses, myself scampering about them all four, and the two golems. And after a long enough period of time, if you walk a horse, it will expel something from its backside. By the time the first golem lost its legs, I'd say half the crowd was gone. And by then, I'd managed to secure a bit of help from my aide, Chauncey.
He of the pickles, right? I believe you told that story sometime back.
The pickle factory?
Yes.
Yes, Chauncey of the pickle factory. Yes, Chauncey, poor Chauncey. It took him quite a while. He is slow a bit after that. I can't leave Chauncey behind, you understand. So after about 2 hours, I'd say, he returned with a few buckets that looked like there were shit in them, and I think there was enough, although they didn't dissolve the golems completely, and one was taken away. Who did take that?
But my lord, isn't like your half-brother a golem?
No, sir. My half-brother is not a golem. You would be incorrect on that count. I think that you perhaps have spent too much time inside your strange boat. No.
See, I heard it was in fact that he was so boring he had the personality of a golem.
Well,
I missed it.
I will not argue that. He is a person of extraordinarily high quality, but not the most interesting individual. I am the brother for that. He is extremely slow moving and of great personal strength. I have seen him
like
lift
a
a
sloth?
wagon. Ah, yes, like a sloth. He is quite fond of them and keeps two as pets. I think he thinks it is a animal that represents him in the spirit world or something. I don't know. I've never listened to his ravings from after he returned from the Uzbekistan jungles. It's ridiculous.
Never the same.
Someone must carry on the family name with honor, and I think that I do so with a modicum of modesty. And that was the funniest fight.
That was an amazing fight.
Indeed.
I am so moved. The way you handled it all, you are truly the funniest swordsman.
Swords were not needed.
Well, of course. I mean,
with a shitty tail, though.
It was shitty. I will not argue that. All right. So, what were the final counts?
4-2-4-6. So Mike 4,
4, 2, 4,
me
6?
2, Savannah 4, John 6.
I thought John had 7 because I just repeated it.
Oh, maybe it was that. Here, I'm literally mimicking what you have on the screen. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So now at the end, everybody plays, votes on the story like they like best, and they can't vote for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And how many do I have again?
You have 4. Yep.
All right.
All right. So, I guess I just remember that.
I have 7.
Yeah, you have 7, John.
Yep.
All right.
Let's start with Scott's story. I am gonna give that one of my coins, if only because Crackhouse is hilarious.
You know what the funny thing was? I was thinking like Crackhausen was a place, and I'm like, all right, I'll do that. But it came out Crackhouse. I'm like, I'm rolling with it.
You'll definitely get one of mine, especially because pedo was a running theme, and I very much appreciate that.
And the funny thing was, in the accent, it sounded like penis every time I said it. That's why I kept incorporating it.
Yeah, it kind of did.
It did, yeah.
That would be a really weird bread. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I'm the big spender, I'm going to say that he gets 3.
Oh, damn!
Snap.
All right.
You're just go Clink, clink, clink. I'm not cool. I
5
thought that'd be
coins.
cooler. I saw my reflection in the camera. That was not cool, John.
All right. Savannah's to the moon, and then Hawaii for the fire of vodka.
So I kind of love that you're getting one of mine.
Yeah, I only have one to vote for everybody, so I feel good because I can just vote one for everybody and I'm done. So there, boom.
I agree too. I liked it. I like the navigator. I like how you ended up in Hawaii. I like how you for
The moon people were pretty good.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. I'm like, okay, so how can I do South America? And okay, not South America. Where are we going? I was this close to doing Alaska, but then I realized the volcanoes were too good to pass up.
See, I was at one point going to be like, I was going to change it over to like Antarctica for you. I'm like, South America? I thought it was farther south than that. I'm like, no, I'll let her go. She's going somewhere with it, I can tell.
Well, it's still tropical, so
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah.
All right, how many did you want to vote for her for her story, John?
For her story, 2.
2 coins. John, 4 coins. All right, and then I already voted 1 for John. Savannah, Scott's out, so it's just Savannah. How many coins for John's story, Savannah?
I will actually give both of you 1 for me.
1 from Savannah. And then I get 1, and then I would default get the rest of John's votes, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm keeping 1 for
Actually,
myself,
I vote
by
for
the way.
The bird gets 2.
Excellent.
All right, looks like Angus Crackhouse will be winning today's game.
Ah!
Good showing. Good showing, sir.
Having never
Indeed.
played this and kind of being... It was funny. It was like, you guys were like, all right, roll into the first story. I'm like, I don't know the rules. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, just keep
Yeah,
going.
just
That's how you do
that's
it.
the answer. Keep going.
Yep.
And if you have beer and in like 6 or 7 people, it's amazing.
Yeah, you don't. I suggest
In the
at least everyone have a shot before you play if you're all playing
That's
in
it.
person.
I did. That was some Midori in my Batman shot glass.
But I worked 2 puns into mine. I just
I
want
thought
that
that
to
was
know
very
ending
funny.
well.
Yeah.
Mad punning, dude. There was puns everywhere. I was like, "Are you serious, John? Oh my god!"
Yep, no,
There were
that's
more
good.
than 2. There were like 5. You were on fire. It was ridiculous. All right. Well, that was good. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to do this again next week. We'll
Yeah,
see if
we'll
everybody's
see what we're
Oh, I am super down. I am usually, what is today? Thursday?
Monday.
John is down. I've never had anybody just like straight out be like, "I'm captain." Like, oh, that was like immediately. I was
Yeah.
like,
I want to say in one game we were in, there was a vicar, but I don't remember.
Oh,
But
yeah,
mostly,
totally.
like, people go pretty
Is it-
straight up.
Premise or Lindros was the vicar.
That's it.
At the
I was this
It
close to being a
wasn't-
rabbi.
It wasn't
'cause-
Praemus.
which one was it? Which was it the game with the pickles or the other game?
It was the other game. It was one of
It's
the
the other
first
game.
ones that I ever played.
The Vicar.
So it was
Okay,
the other one,
well-
the pickle game.
Thirsty was the Mongoloid or whatever.
Mongolians.
Mongolians.
Yeah.
Tim was something. Was it Tim the vicar?
Tim was definitely not the vicar. It was somebody with dark hair.
Oh, I can't remember. Was it Cosmos?
No.
Anyway, guys, real quick, I'm gonna end the stream and they can keep talking. So I hope you guys.
Oh yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
it.
Thanks everybody for checking it
Yeah,
out.
that
We'll-
was a lot of
we'll
fun,
do
guys. Maybe
more
we'll do this again in the future.
Actual plays of this. Yeah.